Hello and welcome to the most hated show in the black corner of the internet. I'm your host, the whiteologist, Mr. Blows Your Mind, and this is Black MINDZ News. This channel is to report, articulate, transmit, communicate, relate, unveil, decode, spread the news, whether by news, video, websites, or quotes from publications. As I articulate these information, I ask that the creator of the universe be here, heart, soul, mind, and spirit. Because why? The truth don't need no partner. As a descendant of the foundation of blacks of this country that we call the United States, we, the bloodline genealogy family, known as BADOS, Black American Descendant of Slaves. Some say Black African Descendant of Slaves. Others say ADOS, American Descendant of Slaves. We, the family, the bloodline time historical to this land, we give honor to our ancestors. You know what my motto of this show is? I'm never going to tell you what I heard. I'm only going to tell you what I know. Today's date, July 31st, 2019. We're going over to Florida. Florida is international airport. Did you see the story? Did you hear about it? About the Transportation Security Administration, known as TSA, and some employees over there who are being investigated because some effigies that were in plain sight view of customers sending off what you would consider to be a not good vibe, especially in the place of profession where people of all walks of life come through. So what was the point of the employees having this as a message? Was it by accident or just things put together and it just appeared that way? Well, stay tuned for this broadcast as we unravel what happened in Florida. Stay tuned for this broadcast. Hey, how's y'all doing? Hello once again. This is Mr. Blows Your Mind, your host, and this is Black MINDZ News. First and foremost, I want to say what's good to my family in the house, the subscribers. What's good, fam? How y'all doing? Thanks for your participation. For those who do have the time to take a little time out to hear what the article that or the news that Black MINDZ is giving, we want to thank you first and foremost from Black MINDZ News. Passerbys, if you should happen to get your GPS made you turn the wrong way on the internet and you should happen to stumble over to the most hated show on the black corner of the internet, we welcome you over here. You can go through our aisle, go through the library, see some things that you might like. If you see something that might just make you feel some kind of way, remember that the motto of the show is, the truth don't need no partner. Now let's get into this, right? So, as I was saying in the introduction, some things over at the International Florida Airport seem to have some employees who wanted to make some statements about their preference, about their, race, or maybe they were sending a signal to those who may happen to come across their way and present this type of what they would consider an effigy, right? And we'll talk about what an effigy is when I get back. But first, let me let you see this, and we should be right back.
Right now, a shocking scandal spreading across the concourses at Miami International Airport today. TSA agents off the job because of a disturbing display found at MIA. Local 10 News reporter Roy Ramos live now at the airport with this one for us. Roy.
Calvin, and officials with TSA tell us that both of those officers have been placed on administrative leave. They are potentially involved in all of this, but the investigation is still ongoing. Now, the good news here is that display was not out in the open for these travelers to see. However, we did show them a picture of what was found. They described it as disturbing and upsetting.
Oh my gosh.
Travelers at MIA shocked after seeing this image of two stuffed gorillas tied together, hanging with a noose. Local 10 learning it was 3 Transportation Security Administration officers who discovered the offensive display last Sunday.
Disappointed. That's rather shocking.
According to TSA employees, the stuffed animals were hanging from a pole right in the middle of a TSA workstation where luggage is screened. The officers reported it to management, and according to one employee, a manager tried to downplay the incident, saying it was a joke.
It's very concerning.
Why is that?
Because we have such a diverse group of people travel through this airport, and it's pretty upsetting that could happen.
TSA officials told us 2 officers have been placed on administrative leave after the display was discovered. Fortunately, the public was not privy to the news.
It does bother me because, it's just like people in our community having stuff like that, and that's kind of like, it's racist.
We reached out to TSA, who says they're now investigating the incident. They released this statement that reads in part, "The display was immediately removed and an investigation was launched into who was responsible for the unacceptable behavior. TSA does not tolerate racist or offensive behavior, and those found responsible will be held accountable for their actions." And right now we are reaching out to TSA to find out if both of those officers that have been placed on administrative leave are responsible for this display and if they will be able to keep their jobs. As soon as we gather that information, we'll be sure to let you know. For now, here at Miami International Airport, Roy Ramos, Local 10 News.
All right. So here we go in Miami International Airport. Again, Transportation Security Administration, better known or AKA known as TSA, right? So we see that an effigy, right? So I was like, what is an effigy, Mr. Blows Your Mind? Well, they say an effigy is just basically like, let's say like a person, right? The image representation of a person. So when they had that monkey there, right? You know what they were saying, the subliminal message of that, right? And so they also had a noose tied to it, right? And do I have that image of that? I'm not sure if I got the image. I think I do got it. So what I'll do is go ahead and show it to everybody again, just in case you didn't see it too well, because as they said, the supervisor, it's just a joke, right? It's only a joke when you get caught, right? It's only a joke then when you get caught. Prior to then, it's just really the subliminal message that you're sending out. So let me show you the image there, right? So that's a joke, and especially in the day and time that we in right now, the heightness of a lot of the racial tension, the divide of the nation, even though there's a lot of people who are working, trying to mend things together, but you still have people out here who believe that this here is a joke. Again, as I said in previous shows, everybody likes a good laugh. What's so funny about a monkey on a noose, right? What's the joke? Because again, for the people, as I said at the beginning of the show, the BADOS or the ADOS of this land, that's very offensive to us. It triggers things in us, even though some of us may not have personally had this kind of encounter, but through our historical encounters in this land, that image in itself replaced that which you see became real. Matter of fact, there were songs that were sung once upon a time, Strange Fruits. Remember that? Strange Fruits, right? And so these people here, so far, it looks like the supervisor's already cool with it, because again, according to what you heard in the video, it said that it's just a joke, right? And so we see that what happened is it ended up 2 workers being suspended with pay, because again, they got to go through the process and the investigation, right? And so again, what you see again, as I said, an Effigy, what they saying is offensive display, right? So they on administrative leave, and accordingly, this ain't the first time that they done had these kind of incidences at this particular airport. There's been episodes is the word that they use. There's been episodes. Now, you know, when you watch TV, stay tuned to the next episode, which is the next event and the next show and the next one. So they done had several, more than one, right, of these type of, if they say offensive display, but we're just going to say racial connotative image, spirit, right? Racial, we'll get into that, right? And so there's been other allegations at this workplace of racism and harassment just in this year alone, right? And so what they did is, accordingly, as you heard in the story, they said, well, we immediately took it down only because why? You've been caught, right? Prior to that, no one seemed to act as if it was not offensive. Then to say there was an offensive display, when did you recognize that it was an offensive display? After the fact that it became aware in public and people, because again, to show you that really, even in the, let's say the intern, right? Let's just say the inner circle of the internet of the airport, right? We're gonna say that, of the international airport. They have stories that they talk about where employees have complained that were outsiders. Now, again, those who work there, we don't know, right? I remember doing a story where a brother that worked for, maybe it was Southwest Baggage, and they were doing the same thing with him, right? They were saying he can't use that bathroom was for whites only, and, you know, finding nooses and things of that sort. And when he went to go complain about it, eventually he ended up being terminated, right? And so in the intern aspect of it, you can't get that story out because why? Because that is going to affect their job. So it's only to after the fact that he was terminated and went through the process and then finally get somebody to take some coverage on it is when it became aware. So here, in this sense here, stuff I'm going to tell you here is because people who came from outside companies who had to come and intermingle with them, they complained about it. So it was a lot of other workers from what they would consider like bigger companies who complained about the workplace racial harassment. So not so much of the fact about the effigies or the so-called offensive display. What they also were doing is saying that there was a lot of harassment, racial harassment by employees, right? They said back in June, a black employee at Boeing, they were talking about like in North Charleston, South Carolina, they call it the plant, he had sued the company for its retaliation for reporting about a noose hanging, okay? And not noose hanging as an individual, but they're hanging noose. So basically, this here is kind of like they swoosh Nike symbol. You understand? This is their Escash, or this is their Polo. You know, I guess that's basically what they're trying to tell. Pretty soon is somebody is going to create a brand and have a noose on it as a logo, right? And so this is kind of like the good old boys logo net. You know what I'm saying? This is what they do to show you this is what we represent, right? Until when they get caught and then it gets beyond the, let's say, you know, like here's a crime scene and we're going to tape this off. As long as everything within inside the crime scene is still part of the crime under the jurisdictions of those who are investigated. And that's what happens in companies. You have people in certain positions that even though if an employee is to complain, because of the camaraderie amongst employees, if that's going to hurt Jim about what Johnny's doing, then Jim is going to still divert it so that it doesn't get to the proper places so that any kind of justice or, you know what I'm saying, administrative can see beyond them. So they know how to thwart it off. But see, when you get third party independent, somebody come over watching the watcher, then that's what ends up happening. Now an investigation can take place. And so in this particular person here in South Carolina, he sued the company, right? Again, what I tell you, not care about 6, get about 12, get the check, charge it to the game. Because again, if they're going to have misbehaviors and things that they seem they can't control, then why not you get benefit from it? If that's part of the policy, part of the rules and regulations, how things go, then again, if they don't know how to control themselves, get the check. There was also, he was also talking about the fact that where his desk was, they would also, employees would urinate on his desk and his chair, right? Now, again, is that fun and games? Again, like I say, is this a joke only white folks know? Because I don't think that other people, not only can speak for me and mine as black people in America. If you piss on my desk, you piss in my chair, I see nothing funny about that. Where's the humor in that? Maybe that's a white thing, right? Maybe only white folks can tell you really what the humor. Again, white folks, if you should be happening to hear me, tell me what's funny about somebody urinating on your desk and urinating in your chair, right? Tell me the joke, because I don't see the humor in it. And I don't know if anybody else may not see the same thing. Where's the humor in something like that, right? And so that other employees, right, would urinate too. Not just one specific one. It'd be others coming together. Maybe that's the fun. Hey, come on. Let's piss on this damn desk. Come on. No, you piss on it. Oh, yeah, I got a long way. I drank a lot of Budweiser last night. Right? That kind of shit, right? And then he comes back and shit. So basically a form of harassment to make the environment so that it's hostile. So what end up happening, because you are a minority in most places that we work in, unless it's kind of post office and things like that, where we might be the majority. But when you're the minority, this is a way to make you leave without them. Because again, most people who get fired from jobs, I'm going to say 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10 times, you're not getting fired because of your work. You're getting fired because either you're not a go along, get along, or people just, something about you that just don't like, and then they get together in cahoots and they work together to try to get rid of you. And so you end up, because of the hostility and the harassment, a lot of people who are not stand-up people and going to fight, what you end up doing is what? You end up leaving the job. And so that way these people win, because they don't know they done did it many times before, right? So they pick and choose until they get one that fits into, their group. Then they fill in all the holes. And then when somebody come around, then this normally happens, right? So, that's kind of the playbook that they use, right? And so they went over to a distribution center in Ohio, and they said that there was a lot of subject to racial and discrimination harassment in Ohio, right? So you see that, how we say police, some people say there's race soldiers in police. Well, it seems like they got them strategically in places that you probably wouldn't think that they would be, right? And I want to say this for, food for thought. What about this? Let's just say, okay, I'm not going to say the entirety TSA employees or institution, or right. I'm not going to say that all of them, but let's just say that if that should be, and they in those places, can certain things get through under the radar, right? That shouldn't get through, that may be helping to funnel shit, because you got people in strategic places, right? Sometimes you have to think like that. You're just looking at TSA, watching you, making sure you ain't putting on stuff. But then what about what they allow to come in there? You understand? So it can work both ways. So sometimes you, again, got to get outside of the box of the way you're looking at things, right? And so then they also talked about that the UPS had fired 2 employees after investigation about peer-to-peer racial offensive conduct. Peer-to-peer, employee-to-employee, right? Well, they got into this thing because, again, one person was like, I'm not going to take this from you, and it could either get confrontational or it becomes, paper tiger, motherfuckers in there filing grievances and all this other stuff, and it's clogging the system up, making the environment hostile, and then, one thing lead to another. And so this, again, was in Moni, Ohio facility. And so what they call themselves doing is the way they say, well, we changed the management. See, he didn't say fire. We changed. So we just shuffling, right? You know what this person is about, but you don't, again, whatever camaraderie, whatever ties, again, because sometimes getting jobs is not about what you know, it's about who you know. And so you don't get rid of, Jimmy over here. You just shuffle and put him over there. Jimmy, come on. You can't get caught like that, right? Right? So they do it kind of like with how you see in the Catholic Church, when the priests get caught up doing the things, child molestation, and you don't, was it excommunicato, right? You don't get excommunicated. What you do is they're going to shuffle you and put you somewhere knowing this one, like, what they say, what they call it? Young bussy, right? Young bussy, right? And that's what he's after. And yet, you know that's his appetite, but that's not what you're going to do. So you're going to do is just give him a new place. So now he's looking at some new predatorial bussy for him to be looking at. It's just crazy how motherfuckers be doing shit. And so they say, well, we're going to be more vigilant about the way we hire. What do you mean vigilant? It's not something that you basically see, right? Right? It's not about vigilant about what you see. And even searching in the background, unless you happen to go through all these social medias and you might get all that, right? So I guess that's what it said. We're going to start. Yeah, well, we know. Again, that's politically correct talk, right? You ain't got to do that. Company posse, if they just kind of say, well, be like, what's her name? I'll say it again. Now if you say that, then now you're going to have a lot of problems, right? So you can't do that. So in hindsight, just looking at the fact that, again, like I say, I mean, if we was to just take the microscope and start looking at every facet of a lot of places, I mean, we're seeing it the other day. We're talking about the barbershop, the brother going there to get his haircut, couldn't even get in 6 seconds. Running out there, come on, this is not what we own. We don't do niggers here, that kind of shit, right? The police are, well, you're harassing me, right? Well, what am I being arrested for? Well, they say you're harassing businesses. Now you're harassing my ass. What? You get what I'm saying? So it's like, in the position that you may need, places that you go for help or things you need the necessity to do, saying that they're everywhere. So I don't know, it's a figure of our imagination that these are just individuals. It's not as many as we try to purport. It's just a single individual that just happened to be getting caught, as they say, we're just having fun. At whose expense, we must ask. Who are you having fun with? So that's what I want to bring that story there. This is my first story for the day. And again, it's just funny, right? That I don't know how anybody could sit there and think that somebody wouldn't be offended if they seen a noose hanging with a monkey. And again, my thing is also, too, is the fact that when they always want to throw the monkey on black folks, but we got to ask ourselves, what does RH in blood stand for? Anybody know what the RH stand for in the blood? The RH in the blood is supposed to be Rhesus, right? This is a monkey, right? Rhesus monkey, right? Now, accordingly, some people got more Rhesus. Well, is the Rhesus monkey in the blood more than others? But yet, the image of the monkey seems to always want to be put on black folks. But what I've heard and what I've read said that the African didn't have the Rhesus. So if the African ain't got the Rhesus, then who are you putting up there? Well, this is Black Minds News. Want to bring this to you once again. Again, TSA, teach his own, right? So again, you know how we do it. Want to thank everybody for who came and listened to today's broadcast, right? You know how I would like for you to do before we get up out of here. But before I do all that, first and foremost, I'm going to say, we see one another. Yeah, everybody get that universal nod. What's good, brother? What's good, sister? Understand that we all in this game together. And somehow we're going to have to find a way that, the game is rigged. There's a lot of people who are in opposition to you. But you got to remember that who's on your team and understand that this is your team. And you got to understand team camaraderie wins and defense wins championships, right? So with that in mind, this is Black Minds News. I'm your host, Mr. Blows Your Mind. Until the next show, y'all. Peace, love, and hair grease. To the next show.
Oh,